Okay, can someone please start the petition to get Abu Dhabi removed as the season finale? Because please tell me I'm not the only one who thought that race was really dull for a title decider. Especially, it was dull to begin with, but especially for a title decider. A three-way title decider at that. But season's over. Let's have a speak through it. So let's review the season. We're going to kick off with the top three in the championship, McLaren and the first half of Red Bull. For starters, a huge congratulations to Lando Norris on becoming world champion. He's been solid this year. He's had a really great season. Well, that shows by the fact that he's won the championship. He has had his ups and downs. That has to be said. He's had his bottles. He's put up with McLaren's bottles as well. McLaren have not been fault-free this year at all. But he pulled it back when it mattered. He kept cool. He kept calm throughout the season, no matter what he was putting up with, be it his own mistakes, McLaren's mistakes. He kept calm and he pulled it back when it mattered, and he did what he needed to do to be able to be leading the championship after the final race, which is when it counts most. Like him or not, personally, I'm not a fan of Lando Norris, but he's had a great year. Congratulations to him. 35th world champion in Formula 1. His teammate just missing out there by 13 points or something like that in the end. Oscar had a great year. He did. For his third season in Formula 1 to be as good as he has been amazing. I had a feeling he was going to make a step up this year, but I didn't expect him to make as big of a step up as he made. And he had his problems. He had that bad season opener, and then he had that bad run from Baku to Brazil. That didn't help his cause, but overall, Oscar Piastri has been solid. That bad run should not take away from the great run he did have earlier in the year to put himself in a good position to win the championship, but in the end he didn't because, well, things went south for him, and then, well, it went south at the wrong time and he wasn't able to pull it back. But overall, he was great. I mean, McLaren definitely did make life easy for their drivers. McLaren made screw-ups with both drivers. I mean, the double disqualification in Las Vegas, the strategy in Qatar, just to name a couple. And not to mention all the BS with papaya rules. And this kind of leads me nicely onto my next point of how in the name of God was a driver who isn't driving for McLaren involved in the championship fight? Okay, Max Verstappen did not belong in the championship fight. He shouldn't have been in that fight. It should have been a straight fight between the McLaren boys, but it wasn't because they made mistakes, McLaren made mistakes, and Max Verstappen capitalized. And honestly, he had an insane year. Honestly, the comeback really just insane. To go from 104 points back to finish just 2 points off the championship is crazy. Most wins of anybody this season. He can be happy with his season, even though he missed out. I mean, he has 4 championships at home, so to miss out on a 5th one, even though he missed out, he gave it everything. He went out fighting. You cannot fault him for that. But in the end, it just wasn't enough because Lando Norris did enough to be able to hold on in the end after he came back after that DNF in the Netherlands, which again, Lando Norris winning the championship just makes the Lando fans saying it's all over after that DNF even funnier. Overall, the championship fight, it got interesting there at the end. It got interesting when Max got involved, to be honest, but overall, I found it a little bit mid. And I think a lot of that kind of stems from the fact that the majority of the time, it was just one of the title contenders, one of the McLarens or Max, say, just winning by a mile, you know? It wasn't we didn't have close battles between the title contenders, if you know what I mean. And I don't know, for me that kind of affected it a little bit. It ended interesting, you know? It's a three-way title decider is always going to be an interesting prospect heading into it. It always has been, always will be. But overall, the fight was just a little bit mid. Capped off by a really dull finale. Seriously, that race, I'm not the only one who found it dull, right? Abu Dhabi needs to be removed as the season finale because it just doesn't provide good racing. And when we have these three-way deciders, they should be at tracks where we could actually have great racing. Take, for example, Interlagos. Hey, hi, I'm currently editing, but there's something I just remembered I also wanted to talk about here. And I'm going to insert it here in between the top 3 and Mercedes, which I'm going to get onto in a second. Because this is to do with Kimi Antonelli. The amount of crap this kid has been getting, really, since the Qatar Grand Prix, is fucking unbelievable. I said this after the Mexican Grand Prix, when the Lewis Hamilton fans were posting a lot of crap towards Leclerc and Verstappen, and I'm gonna say this again here because it's still true. Sending hate or harassment or threats of any kind towards any driver from any fan base, that is never on. Towards any driver from any fan base. It's never on, it's never acceptable, it's never okay. Max Verstappen did not lose this championship because of Kimi Antonelli. He didn't lose it when Kimi made a mistake in Qatar. He didn't lose it when Kimi put up the defense of his life to try and get P2, in Brazil. Max didn't lose the championship when Kimi went up the inside and crashed into him on the opening lap in Austria. It's not Kimi's fault that Max lost the championship. But the thing is, I just knew this would happen. Like, after the race, and I just kind of realized, hang on, gap's 2 points. What are the chances that Kimi Antonelli is going to get more crap from the Verstappen fans? And I was right. Kimi's still getting crap from the Verstappen fans. It just, the people sending hate towards Kimi, y'all need to chill the fuck out, okay? It's not his fault. Shit happens, okay? You win some, you lose some. Be as chill as Max is about this whole thing. He doesn't care. I mean, he's won 4 championships already. He'll get that 5th title eventually. Just calm down and stop sending your hate towards a freaking 19-year-old. Away from the front of the field, though, let's talk about some other teams. Mercedes, second in the championship. I swear to God, that Mercedes car decided if it wanted to be quick or not with a fucking magic 8-ball. Okay, are we going to be quick today? You shake it, and then it's like not looking likely, or prospect not good, or whatever it is, and a magic 8-ball says. I used to have one, but I don't now. Oh, mind you, that was like over 10 years ago, probably more like 15, like me and my sister had one, but anyway. George Russell has been pretty solid this year. He was really, really consistent. He was normally always hanging around there in the top 5, and Kimi Antonelli, he ends on 150 points. Last driver to use DRS in Formula 1. Rip to DRS. Honestly, that was a pretty solid opening season from Antonelli, despite the bad run throughout the European season. To end on 150 points and 2 podium finishes from your first rookie season, that ain't bad in Formula 1, you know, especially he's so young as well. He's only 19, and you know, he's had a great season, already finishing in the top 7 of the championship. He is with a great team, but bye. He came so close to beating out Lewis Hamilton to P6 as well, but just missed out. And with that, let's head on to Ferrari. And this is where I want to bring in my verdict on most disappointing team and most disappointing driver this season. Because for me, Ferrari was the most disappointing team this year, and Lewis the most disappointing driver. And that's nothing exactly against Lewis. You know, he really just never gelled with this car, with the SF25, or really with the ground effect cars in general. He never really seemed to fully gel with them. I swear to God, he's going to be dumping that SF25 into the freaking marina tonight. I mean, with that being said, he actually did end up having a pretty decent race coming back into the points. Ferrari had a decent end to the season with that decent double point score in Abu Dhabi, but overall, I don't think I'm the only one who fell into the trap of having their expectations for Ferrari pretty high heading into this season, and it just didn't pay off. You know, the changes they made to the car did not pay off. And I remember saying it back last winter, like in January or something. I mind saying it to my dad. I mind saying, like, Ferrari changing 99% of the car. It's gonna be P1 or P4, no in between. And it ended up being P4. I was hoping for P1. I'm pretty sure I predicted Ferrari for the championship. And look how that ended up. But no, Ferrari disappointed this year. Yeah, some people may say Alpine were the most disappointing team this season, but honestly, my expectations for Alpine were low anyway. But with that being said, while Ferrari have been disappointing, Leclerc, honestly, frankly, I actually think he had a pretty decent season, all things considered. Given the kind of up and down, all over the place nature of that Ferrari, and the up and down way that they've had, but really, to get a pole and 7 podiums from this season, actually pretty freaking good. He's been solid, he's had some solid drives this season, and in the end, it's top 5 for him in the championship for the, 4th year in a row? I mean, he definitely would have been hoping for better from this season, especially after ending last year so well with just missing out on the Constructors' Championship and just missing out on P2 in the drivers. With that being said, given the situation Ferrari found themselves in this year with not being as good, and then they gave up on 2025 pretty early, I saw it said this week that they gave up on it and like they kind of switched off 2025 like in April or something like that. All things considered, pretty decent year from him, I'm gonna be honest. Really, Ferrari kind of this year ended up doing what they did in 2021, if you think about it. Because I remember they turned off 2021 pretty early. They turned their attention to 22 like early in the season, and of course that ended up working out quite well in 21 and 22 to begin with, because they actually finished P3 in the championship in 2021. They beat McLaren, but this time not quite worked out. Pretty disappointing season from Ferrari, but with that said, good season from Leclerc. Moving on, and we move on to the other half of Red Bull and VCARB. Good lord, Yuki Tsunoda's season took a downturn. It's a big shame he's not going to be on the grid next year, but I suppose it's kind of predictable with his results in that second Red Bull seat being kind of just affecting the way, how good he looks, if you know what I mean. It's also the thing of, I think they were talking about this in commentary this weekend, the kind of 3/10 gap or something like that. When the grid is so close and that gap becomes it seems even bigger because there's more cars in between them, between him and Max. So the gap looks bigger than it would, say, from Max to Checo or from Max to Gasly or whatever. It's not been a particularly great year for Yuki Tsunoda. Not entirely his fault. That second Red Bull seat is just something else entirely. And it's cost him his drive for next year. But on the other side of things, at the junior team, Isaac Hadjar, honestly, he was the biggest surprise in terms of the drivers this year. Biggest surprise driver for me, and the rookie of the year for me. Not the highest scoring rookie, but for me, he's the rookie that impressed me the most. I didn't know what to expect from Hadjar coming into this year, but he ended up being really, really good. I am interested to see what he can do in that Red Bull car alongside Max Verstappen next year. There's every chance it may be another case of a Red Bull young driver's career being sent up the Swanee in that car, but there's also every chance that he could be the one to break the cycle, especially with brand new regulations coming in, totally different cars. Who knows what could happen next year? Maybe he will be the one to break the cycle. Who knows? And well, Liam Lawson, I'm gonna be honest, I hardly noticed him, so I have nothing to say. On to Williams, who I kind of skipped over there a little bit there. I was gonna do this in somewhat Constructors' Championship order, but I suppose we skipped over Williams. We're gonna do them now. Biggest surprise team for me. My expectations for Williams this year were good, because with a solid driver lineup of Alex Albon and Carlos Sainz, you have to have good expectations for that. And James Vowles has his head screwed on right. He knows what he's doing. But I didn't expect Williams to be this good, to be able to just comfortably be P5. And they got podium finishes, multiple podiums for the first time since 2015, I think. And their first top 5 finish in the Constructors' Championship for quite a while. It's nice to see Williams doing better, It's nice to see them back solidly in that midfield fight. Hopefully that can continue into next season. Who knows? The word that's been said online has been that Mercedes could have the best engine next year. Maybe Williams will benefit from that, but who knows? Great season from Williams. Honestly, the biggest surprise for the teams. Aston Martin actually surprised me quite a bit as well. My expectations for Aston Martin were pretty freaking low coming into this year. I think I predicted them P8, and they ended up finishing P7 and almost P6. Honestly, pretty invisible season. To be honest, I hardly noticed them. I hardly noticed Lance Stroll. Lance Stroll got decimated in the qualifying head-to-head I saw. 24-0 for Fernando Alonso. Jesus Christ. Although, mind you, I don't think anybody is particularly surprised by that. But I don't know what to say on Aston Martin, other than they actually ended up surprising me, to be honest, because I didn't expect them to finish P7. I expected P8. But I had my expectations low for Aston Martin. I wasn't expecting much. Who knows? Adrian Newey, the Honda engine, who knows what they're going to be able to do next year. People seem to be thinking, oh, they're going to be good. We'll have to wait and see. Just because Honda have been good the last few years with Red Bull, no guarantees that they'll be good with Aston Martin. We'll have to see what happens. But moving on to Haas. Frankly, around about where I expected them to be. I predicted them P5. They ended up P8, but actually solid season from them. Esteban Ocon and Ollie Behrman have proved to be a really good lineup for Haas, I think. They seem to work well together from what I can see. They've both had their bad races, both had their great races, and I think this is going to be a good lineup for Haas to have heading into next season, maybe seasons to come as well. I don't know if either driver is contracted beyond the end of 2026, but Ollie Behrman, solid first season in Formula 1. Esteban Ocon continuing to prove that he is actually a pretty decent driver. Honestly, one of the more underrated drivers in the midfield, really. And as for Sauber, honestly, about kind of where I expected them. At the back kind of way. They're 9th in the Constructors. Gabriel Bortoleto, I didn't know what to expect from him. He did alright. Nico Hülkenberg was just doing Nico Hülkenberg things. And then finally, as for Alpine, sweet freaking Jesus, Alpine. I can't remember where I predicted Alpine to finish in this championship, but 10th, good lord. That team is going to be very glad to be at the end of this season, I'm going to be honest. But with that being said about Alpine, I want to move on to my top 5 drivers this season. Honorable mention first to George Russell. Yes, he is just missing out on the top 5. He's been solid this year, but for me, he just misses out on the top 5 because I want to put Pierre Gasly P5 here. Right, just hear me out. This may seem like a left of field choice, but hear me out. okay? Because Alpine were freaking hopeless this year. But but Gasly still managed to have, first of all, some really decent drives sometimes, scoring some really decent points. And he also managed to get into Q3 like 10 times. For me, that puts him top 5 to do that in a freaking tractor. Love it. P5. P4, I have to say Charles Leclerc. You know, I said it. He actually had a pretty decent season, if you ask me. Because, you know, Ferrari were pretty disappointing. Car was kind of all over the place. Lewis was never able to get on top of it. Charles has been able to get on top of that car a lot more than what his teammate has been. And he got 7 podium finishes in the end. He got a pole position. Decent season, honestly. P5 in the championship. P4 in my ranking here. P3 and P2 are the 2 McLaren drivers. I'm going to put Lando Norris in P3. Might seem a little bit backwards to put the champion P3, but for me, putting Lando Norris P3 and Oscar Piastri P2, you can do these two either way. But Oscar Piastri being ahead, for me, is just coming off of the fact that Oscar hasn't been around Formula 1 as long. Whereas he's in his 3rd season, and the step up he made into this year has been incredible. Lando Norris has also been a bit great this year, but he's been around a bit longer, you know, and we knew coming into this season, he was definitely going to be a title contender. He was, the bookie's favourite coming into this year. But either way, Lando 3rd, Oscar 2nd, then it has to be Max Verstappen P1 for me. Because to come back from 104 points off the championship lead to just 2 points missing out, that is insane. He almost pulled off the comeback of all comebacks, but he didn't quite manage it. Elsewhere, race of the season for me has to be Silverstone. Changeable conditions, track you can race on, Nico Hülkenberg podium, love it. Worst race of the season, frankly, Japan. All I remember about that race is that Max Verstappen won. That's all I remember about Japan. Overall, that was a decent season. It was a bit mid at times, but it was decent. You know, it was a decent send-off for these regulation sets. It was nice. The cars were so close, and honestly, I hope you enjoyed it. I certainly enjoyed seeing the cars this close. Might be the last time for a while that we see them this close, because I guarantee you they're not going to be this close when we rock up to Melbourne next year. It was a good send-off for DRS. Rest in peace, DRS. 2011 to 2025. Good send-off for Sauber. I think they ended in the points. No, they didn't. I think they just missed out, but close enough anyway. Sauber are going to be no more next year. Yuki Tsunoda is not going to be on the grid next year. The Renault engine is going to be gone, probably to the delight of Pierre Gasly and Franco Colapinto. And no more of these engines, these cars, ground effect. It's all changing next year. Decent season. Honestly, decent season. Congratulations to Lando Norris on the championship. You deserve it. Any of the 3 of them would have deserved this championship because they've all been great this year. And in the end, it was Lando Norris who won out. Congratulations to him. Commiserations, I guess, to Max Verstappen and Oscar Piastri on just missing out, but insane comeback for Max and that overtake from Oscar Piastri on lap 1 of this race. Oh my freaking god. Round the outside at turn 9 on hards on your teammate. Beginning of the race, lap 1, full of fuel. Holy shit, are you kidding me? But solid season. Now it's time for like, what, 2 months until, just under 2 months until, oh my god, it's less than 2 months until the first test in Barcelona. Good lord. This is a short, I feel sorry for the mechanics, the engineers, everyone involved. It's a short off season. It's a really short off season, but I suppose it's in the benefit of getting more testing than normal because it's all new cars. Now, what was your verdict of the season? Who's your top 5 drivers this season? Race of the season, worst race of the season, most disappointing driver and team, biggest surprise driver and team? Let me know it all down in the comments below and enjoy the off season. Obviously, there's still going to be content coming from me during the off season. The 2025 edition of insert season here will be coming in the next couple of weeks. I'm planning over like 2 weeks or something like that from now, but please don't quote me on that. But let me know what you thought down in the comments below. Drop a like if you enjoyed the video, subscribe if you're new around here. Thank you all so much for watching, and I will see you in the next video. Bye bye.